The other day we looked at a chart that showed us how to move up and down on the metric system. And today we're going to work on actual conversions. Now what we want to remember about moving up and down in the metric system is that the metric system is really easy because you're moving up and down by tens or tenths. So it's just like the place value system. So you're either dividing by powers of 10 or you're multiplying by powers of 10. So as you go this way, they get smaller, just like they do in place value. And as you go this way, they get bigger just like you do in place value. So if you have 1 meter, you're going to need 1,000 of those meters to make a kilometer or a kilometer, if you were to say it separately. Okay? And if you have a meter and you want to go smaller to a centimeter, so these are basically just prefixes that you're adding to your measurements. So if you take a meter and you divide it into hundredths, into 100 pieces, each piece is a centimeter, okay? 100th of a meter. So these are smaller and these are bigger, so it functions just like place value, which makes it easy for us, okay? So for example, and it works with any measurement, let's say we were going to take meters. Okay, meters is a linear form of measurement. You're measuring in straight lines like you would with a ruler. Okay, meter stick, a yardstick, those are both pretty much the same. You usually see a meter stick on the other side of the yardstick, although meter is a tiny bit bigger. Okay, so if you have 1 meter, okay, so 1 m, so here's 1 unit and here's meter. So meter is represented with the letter M. And I want to change meter into centimeters, okay? So that means centi is divided by 100. So 1 meter is going to have 100 of these in them. So remember, when you go from something bigger to smaller, you multiply because you're going to have more of them. So even though you're dividing the meter into 100, you're actually going to have lots of them because you're dividing by hundredths. So we're going to have 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And the cool thing about this, okay, is that you're moving 2 places this way. And when you multiply, you move the decimal 2 places that way. 1, 2. Isn't that cool? So your decimal goes here and you get 100. Okay, so 1 meter has 100 centimeters in it, so 2 meters is going to have 200. And we've talked about this on Friday, actually. And the cool thing about this is it's easy to work with numbers that aren't even. So if I had 6.7 meters, all I have to do to change it to centimeters is to multiply by 100. 1, 2. Multiply it by 100, so all I have to do is take the decimal, move it 1, 2 places, and put a 0 in that empty space, just like we did at the beginning of the year. So it's going to be 670 centimeters. So it's super easy to kind of do that way. And it works going backwards as well. So every group of 100 centimeters is going to equal 1 meter. So every time you have 100 of these, you're going to have one of those. 1, 2 times 10 is 100, okay? So if we have 200 centimeters, whoops, we're going to have 2 meters. Look at what we did. We're going to take the decimal, we're going to move it 2 places in this direction because we're dividing. We're putting it into groups of 100. If we have 300 centimeters, we're going to have 3 meters. Doop, doop, divide by 100, you get 3. If we have 675 centimeters, now this is where the metric system gets super easy because when you're putting it into groups of 100 and you're dividing by 100, you're just moving the decimal 2 places this way. So it's not very difficult to figure out, even though it's not an even number. So it's going to be 6.75 meters, okay? And this works with any measurement. The same thing for grams, for liters, okay? For milliliters or millimeters or milliliters, it's all the same. So if you take a gram and you split it up into 100 pieces, you're going to get a centigram. If you take a gram and you multiply it by 100, you're going to get a hectogram. If you multiply a gram by 1,000, you're going to get a kilogram, okay? So it's pretty cool to figure out that way. So if we look at liters, we're kind of used to liters. Soda bottles are measured in liters. So if I have 1 liter, and how many liters does it take to make a kiloliter? Okay, well, 1 liter, I'm going to put a capital L just so that the 1 and the L don't look the same. It's going to take 10, 100, 1,000 of these to make one of these. So if I have 1 liter to make a kiloliter, I'm going to need 1,000 of them. Okay? If I wanted to make a hectoliter, I'm going to need 100 of them. Okay, we don't measure a lot of things in hectoliters, okay? You're going to see milliliters, though. You're going to see bottles measured in milliliters, the smaller, like single-serving soda bottles. So if we had one of those, 1 liter is going to equal, if we put it into milliliters, it's going to cut it into 1,000 pieces because we have thousands. So 1 liter equals 1, 2, 3, 1,000, 1, 2, 3, right? Milliliters, okay? So this makes it easy to switch things back and forth. The one that you're probably going to see the most is this one because you're going to see it on drinks when you're purchasing drinks. So if we have 1 liter equals thousandths, so it's going to equal 1,000. These tiny little pieces, 1,000 of these will equal one of those. Milliliter, okay? So if you have 2 liters, you're going to have 2,000. And if you have 15 liters, you're going to have 15,000. Do you see how lovely and marvelously easy this is? Okay, and if you have 2.5 liters, you're going to have, move that decimal 2 places. I'm sorry, 3 places. It's 1,000, 3 places. Put some zeros in those extra places. You're going to have 2,500 milliliters. Okay? Sorry, guys. And then if you move backwards, okay? If you move backwards, if you have 3,000 milliliters, you're going to have 3 liters. Divide by 1,000, okay? So you're going back this way. We're going back 1, 2, 3 places. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to divide by 1,000. So we're going to get 3 liters. So this is kind of cool. Like, let's say if we have some weird number, like 7,941 milliliters. Okay, I don't know what is going to be that amount, but watch what's really cool. Okay, so to change it from milliliters to liters, we divide by 1,000. So the decimal, remember when there's no decimal in the number, it goes at the end of the number. So there's really a decimal here. I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places. It's going to go where that comma is. So it's going to equal 7 and 941 thousandths of a liter. Okay, so that makes the conversions back and forth really easy. I'm going to give you a problem of the day. It's going to be in a Google Doc on your Google Classroom, so make sure that you click on it and try it out before we meet in our math centers.